U.S. ranchers are in panic mode. As drought conditions worsen, the lives of millions of cattle are hanging by a thread. That's why thousands of ranchers from all across the country are selling off cattle in unprecedented numbers before more animals are victimized by the extreme weather conditions. Over the past few years, the cost of raising livestock in the U.S. has absolutely exploded. Many farmers are being pushed to the edge of a financial abyss due to the soaring costs of feed, of fertilizers, of fuel, and of farming equipment at a time their herds are being slashed by a shortage of grass and water. The situation is creating serious imbalances in the U.S. food supply chain, with executives warning that meat prices are about to go through the roof, given that the U.S. beef cow herd continues to shrink. This problem is rapidly reaching crisis levels, but most people don't even know this is happening. For that reason, today we have compiled 30 statistics that expose the shocking sell-off of millions of cattle and reveal why the coming meat shortages are gonna be far worse than most Americans are anticipating. But before moving on, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up in this video and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss our upcoming lists. Without further ado, let's check out this list. 1. Right now, over 80% of the western region of the U.S. is experiencing extreme drought conditions and has been for nearly a year. But according to the America Farm Bureau Federation, the most recent week-long heat wave impacted nearly 80 million people across the country and brought things to a boiling point for farmers and ranchers. 2. Temperatures in several states have remained about 100 degrees for weeks now, depleting water and burning grass, both essential to feeding and maintaining cow herds. As a result, thousands upon thousands of ranchers say their only option is to sell. We haven't had this kind of movement of cows to market in a decade, since 2011, which was our last really big drought, said David Anderson, a professor of agricultural economics at Texas A&M. 3. In June alone, over 2,000 cattle in Kansas dropped dead from heat stress. 4. Danny Jones, the president of Superior Livestock Auction, says farmers have been in a drought for a couple of years, but this year marks the most widespread he's seen in the last 36 years. We've seen worse droughts in places, but across the board, it might be as bad as it's been, he stressed. 5. In Elk City, Oklahoma, local sale barns that normally see about 200 cows on sale day are now seeing up to 1,000 cows being sold every day, as revealed by Monty Tucker, a state board member of the Oklahoma Farm Bureau. 6. Data released by the Oklahoma State University showed that in July, the percentage of pastures and ranges in the states that rate poor to very poor soared to 34% from 18% earlier in the month, with cattle producers destocking at a rapid rate as pasture conditions deteriorate rapidly, wrote Daryl Peel, the university's livestock marketing specialist. 7. Nationwide, 83% of pasture and rangeland is now considered to be in poor to very poor condition, according to a report released by the USDA last week. 8. As of July the 1st, the nation's inventory of cattle and calves stood at 98.8 million head, about 2.2 million fewer cattle than during the same period a year ago, the USDA report showed. 9. On top of that, the July cattle report from USDA highlighted the mass liquidation of the U.S. beef cow herd, revealing that beef cow numbers for July 1st came in at 30.35 million head, down 6.3% from the recent 2021 inventory peak. 10. James Mitchell, an extension livestock economist for the Division of Agriculture, exposed that from January to June, total beef cow slaughter in the U.S. is at its highest level since 1996. If you look at the number of head slaughtered as a percentage of the January 1st inventory, That's 5.3% of available cows in the U.S. That would be confirmation that we're seeing people sell off their herd, are culling, or are digging deeper into their herds to cull more cattle. Drought is pressing some hard decisions for people, Mitchell said. 11. In 2021, severe drought forced 40% of farmers to liquidate a portion of their herds, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. This year, the percentage is set to be even higher. 12. By some estimates, U.S. beef-producing cattle herds could be slashed by up to 20% this year if the ranching industry gets rid of its older calf-producing cows, the agency said. 13. Farmers note that the combination of severe drought, high demand, supply chain disruptions, and inflationary costs for things like feed, fertilizer, and fuel is only making the situation worse. 14. The cost to feed cattle has been boosted by the war in Ukraine, which produces 40% of the world's grain. Right now, corn is at its highest price in a decade. A bushel of corn costs $1.25 more than it did last year, or about $7, and about $3 more than in 2019, according to industry data. 15. Prices for hay, often used as a supplemental feed, were 56% higher in April compared to the same point last year, according to a June report from the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. 16. Meanwhile, the price of diesel fuel that powers tractors, harvesters, and grain trucks has also soared, with U.S. prices at the pump rising 70% in the past year to record levels of more than $5.50 a gallon. 17. Farmers are also coping with expensive prices for fertilizer. Record high natural gas prices have pushed up the cost of nitrogen-based fertilizers such as ammonia, which jumped from about $700 a ton in August to more than $1,600 in May. The price of potash, rich in potassium, has also hit records above $1,100 a ton as sanctions curtail supplies from Russia. 18. In central Illinois, one of the highest-yielding corn and soybean regions in the world, pesticide costs are up by 25% this year compared to the same time in 2021, according to a separate University of Illinois study. 19. Farming machinery repair costs have also climbed about 20% because of recent supply chain constraints. 20. In other words, pasture land is dried out, there's not enough food for the animals to eat, and other feed alternatives are way too expensive. These conditions have forced some farmers to sell their entire herds. 21. Texas farmer Amador Guerrero revealed that a calf normally sells for $400 to $800 at auction. But last Wednesday, he watched his calf sell for $70. With so many ranchers selling off cattle, the market is flooded and the price for cows is crashing. This situation is pushing farmers to the edge of a financial abyss. Missouri farmer Kevin Lawson, who directs extension activities in the 25-county Ozark district, an area heavy in cattle, doesn't mince words about what he has seen. "We are on the edge of a disaster," he emphasized. 22. Mike Baker, a cattle expert and farmer, said thousands of farmers have been forced to send their cattle into feedlots early. "Across the board, we're seeing lighter weight cattle than tradition," Baker exposed. 23. Moreover, the USDA says it's seen a huge number of female cattle sent to the feedlots, which means there's a lot of supply right now, but not for long. You build that genetic supply in your herd, so you've got a quality cow and calf that you've built up, and if you have to liquidate, it's going to take a while to build back again, Baker explained, taking that it takes up to 24 months before cattle are ready to sell. 24. The number of females in feedlots is up 3% this year, which means that supplies of cattle going to feedlots will continue to decline and result in progressively tighter supplies of all fed cattle available for slaughter as we move into 2023. 25. Meat distributors say the natural disaster could actually keep supplies tight for years. From supermarkets to steakhouses, industry insiders warn that consumers could be faced with painful price increases as soon as this month. 26. Experts predict that meat prices could go up another 9 to 10% next year, and cattle experts say it could take 5 to 10 years to get back on track. 27. At this point, steakhouses are bracing for the worst. Veteran restaurateur Charlie Palmer, who operates 16 restaurants, including 5 steakhouses, said a cut of filet mignon will cost as much as $61. Ribeye cut is expected to go up to $79. 28. At the moment, ground beef prices are up 12% since this time last year, significantly higher than the current inflation rate for the United States, which currently stands at 9.1%. 29. With smaller herds and fewer breeding cows, U.S. consumers may experience some serious meat shortages in the longer term. In the report, the USDA projected a 7% yearly decline in beef production starting next year. And 30. According to Wilson County, Texas farmer Russell Boney, the current outlook isn't promising at all. He said, "It's kind of like farming in the desert. We would normally still be harvesting corn or grain sorghum, but that was done over a week ago." Boney added of the crops grown as a feedstock for his cattle, "It was a total failure," he said. In face of this scenario, it is clear that the U.S. food supply chain is in a very vulnerable position. The decline in meat production is coming at a time when food prices are 12% higher than they were a year ago. In short, tighter supplies of highly demanded products such as beef are going to result in even higher prices at the stores. At this moment, grocery shortages are already becoming increasingly more extensive across the nation, and it's safe to say that once people realizing this is going on, things are gonna be very chaotic very quickly. If you can, buy lots of food and store it someplace safe, because prices will not be lower than they are right now, and challenging times are definitely ahead.